Welcome learners. In this particular session, I'm going to explore the main keyword. Think of it as a starting point in your racing, wherein that white line where you would put your foot on and then begin to run. In same way, in this particular session, I'm going to define the starting point at your Flutter app. Next, we will be exploring some of the most common widgets like columns, containers, and how in fact we can put some text elements. We're going to define how the entire design of the app will look like, and in fact what goes behind the Android and the iOS design. More in details you're going to know, but for that just follow on into this video. Let us step into the coding by understanding the main function. So main is basically as an entry point. Let's consider the blueprint of my home. Well, I don't have a very large house, but whatever is the blueprint, I'm going to take that as an example to explain you what's an entry point. Let's say this green rectangle is the entrance or the main door through which you can enter my premises. Now, over here, I have got my living room. The living room over here connects to my kitchen. Over here, it connects to my bedroom. And from here, there's a little passage where that's my bathroom. Well, that's my short, cute home. Now, what you'll notice, this living room stands as an entry point to my kitchen, number 1, to my bedroom, number 2, number 3, in my bathroom. So basically, the entry point to wherever I would want to navigate inside my house basically is routed from the living room. In that case, what I'm going to show to you is the same functionality being implemented when in case of Flutter. That's basically my Dart programming. What we're going to now understand is how this main function, which stands as an entry point, is going to create a very big app, or in fact the idea that you have in your mind. In today's session, what I'll try and do is erase all the pieces of code which has come as a default when I have started with the Flutter project. What I'll now do is start with a basic class. I'll put the name of my class as my app. That would extend the stateless widget. Now guys, today is going to be day 1. You guys are going to follow along with the diagram that I'm going to show and also the concepts which I'm going to talk. You guys are not going to pay attention to something like what is this variable or what is this thing class, what is this stateless widget. So we're going to learn about them over time. Today is day 1. Let it be slow, let it be hard. You'll be having a bit amount of learning curve. As you overcome that learning curve, you're going to surely enjoy the app development process. Now, what exactly are we going to try and do? Over here, I'm going to write a welcome screen that's going to be terrible. Terrible in design. So let me just go over here, and what did I do is I'll take this suggestion for create one missing override. What do you notice is it wrote some code. Now over here, this widget is something which we will displaying on the screen. So what I'll try and do is put a return as something called as a material app, and I'll put home, a text, welcome to Hoping Minds Flutter app. Now what I'm going to do is click on this particular button. Well, as the suggestion says, it says Flutter hot reload. With this feature, you'll notice that I will be deploying my app and the entire screen will change in the fraction of seconds. Let me show it to you. Well, over here it says hot class or hot reload was rejected. That's because I removed the const. That's where I would want your attention to be. Let me cut this entire part and move my code to this particular keyword. Did you notice const? Const is as good as mathematical way of saying it that this entire widget is going to be constant, which means I could be having variable widgets. Yes, we can. So perhaps anything that comes into the screen that would be changing, we are going to have as a variable. The fact that over here by default it came with a const is because the entire app, because it was a demo project and it did not have many functionalities, it did not require any frequent changes. It's highly advisable that you should be having your widgets or in fact screen parts which do not change to be const. Well, what's exactly that? Let's talk about the scenario wherein you have WhatsApp. So you have your friend's photograph over here and the recent conversation that you have done with him. Let's say this is your friend name. Now what you notice is this entire part, the photo, this entire block to be static. Well, static meaning if your friend would not be a fanatic, he is not going to change the photograph every minute. Perhaps if the app is loaded, then his DP is going to be picked and then displayed onto the app. In this case, the photograph remains as a constant. On the other hand, the last message, probably if he is going to start typing, then it would change, and then you are not going to have the typing message until then. So number one rule into app development is to identify where in the component section or where in the app widget what you are getting as a display, what could be the static component. In this case, when it is static or it would not change, you can make it const. Now what I'll try and do is have the same hello message, or in fact this welcome message, to be there on the center of the screen. Well, in this case I'm not going to change anything, but still, because I want further updates to happen into my home screen, I'm going to remove the const from my app and then try to put this welcome message. And this time, because I have removed the const from main function, I'll do hot restart. So here we are on a very terrible app, like promised. Well, we're going to improvise on this. The reason why this appears to be terrible is because I haven't given anything like a theme, or I haven't given anything like a page to my user, wherein let's go over here, create a home directory. Inside the home directory, create a home screen, and then we will try writing this entire code in the home screen. Now it's important that when you're doing Flutter app development, you don't become a chimpanzee developer. Well, what's exactly a chimpanzee developer? Well, in that case, you have no sense in what you're trying to do and you're just dumping the code. Well, Flutter is one such environment it will allow, but you are not going to do it. We are going to stick to good programming practices. The number one practice is to create a separate directory for every feature that we have into the app. The next one is following casing. Now, what's a casing? Look over here, how I have created my home screen file. It says home_screen. Well, that's basically a snake casing. Now, when it comes to Flutter, Google advises us to use snake casing when we are creating files. However, let's say we go to this home screen and then again we'll create one stateless widget and then the build function. Well, what's a build function? This is going to build the UI, and this time I am going to put something called as a scaffold. Now, what's a scaffold? Imagine if this is the topmost pixel of your device. Which otherwise means this is the bottommost pixel of your device. So from the topmost to the bottommost pixel, where you have your entire app, is going to be known as a scaffold. Now, in the body, at the center of the screen, I am going to write this text widget and it should be displayed at the center of the screen. Next, what I'll try and do is call my home screen from here. So basically, now if I do a hot reload within a fraction of seconds, you're going to see that the app shall reflect the changes, and this time, because we don't have anything as const, you will notice the changes to happen on your device. Now, what did exactly the thing that we did do? We understand main function as the entry point. From the entry point, we went to this particular class. It says material app. Well, I'm going to come on to it in some time later. From there, it goes to the home screen. So this basically is my home screen. Now, from the topmost to the bottommost pixel, at the center of the screen, what we shall be doing is display a small welcome text. This scaffold is actually going to have different components. That's because over here we can bifurcate as title bar, body, and even the bottom bar. Well, all those things are going to be part of the scaffold. Well, let me show you first my title bar. When it comes to the title bar, I'll take this app bar and I'll put title, that to be a text, and I'll put home screen. Now when I do a hot reload, you'll notice that there is this title bar. Presently it does not have any color. Let's try putting a background color as deep orange. Well, repeat. Well, that's my deep orange background color for my title bar and the center of the text. In this way, I also have something called as bottom navigation bar, in which I can put a simple container with a black background and a white color text. Let's start learning. Now what I'll try and do is give a style that is over here. Use something called as a text style and set the color to white. Let's try doing a hot reload. Now do you notice at the bottom of the screen I'm getting let's start learning. Well, now you can try and play along. For example, if you want to increase the font size, you can set to let's say 20 with default being 14. You can change the alignment. Now, what did you notice? The moment I did the alignment, it just used my entire screen. What I'll next do is give this a height so that it does not consume the entire screen. Well, now in this case, I can try and play along with anything that I would want to do and have a design getting created. The entire motive of teaching you all of this is see how simple the syntax is. Look over here. I just added a height and it shows this would be the height of the container. Playing along with the alignment, what I can decide is either to have center, left, all the different types of alignment. Over here, how simple my text is, wherein I can just set up a style and try to put the color, font size, etc. Well, over a period of time, I'm going to show to you how we'll be able to have the small things being demonstrated, but in case of Android environment only. Well, what's the reason why? Look over here, material.dart. In same way, there's something called as Cupertino.dart. Well, what is the difference? Material is a design pattern that Android follows. Let me show to you some design changes that Apple and Android would have in their apps. Let's talk about the back arrow. If probably you're an Android user, you'll notice that the back arrow is kind of this. However, in case of iOS, it's kind of this. On the other hand, when it comes to your toggle button, that is on-off button, you'll notice something of, let me zoom in here. Oh, well, the zoom did not work. And yeah, I think this is the best example where I can show to you. So look how in the case of Android, you have the toggle button which kind of shows the circle out of the rectangle. In case of iOS, you have kind of this design. A basic button in Android looks like this, a basic button in iOS looks like this. So these are small changes which come into Android and iOS. Well, does that again mean we are going to write the code twice for the design? No. What we are going to do is later on stick to how we can make this design according to Android and iOS to be distinctive. Which means I'm going to show to you how programmatically, without even you bothering about the taste that the Android users would be carrying, would be same. For example, the back arrow is still going to look like an arrow pointing back, and in case of iOS, it's still going to look like a less than sign pointing back. Well, today we are going to stand at a point wherein I'm going to run the app on Material app, that is Android. Now, later on, once you get a good amount of experience into Flutter, I'm going to show to you how we can have even imports, and how we can have the design which will match to iOS specific when you're trying to run the app on iOS. So as promised, over here the material app kind of signifies that I need or I intend to build the entire design according to the Android style. Now in the upcoming session, what we are going to try and do is have my basics to get even stronger and create something as a stopwatch timer app. Hopefully the entire basic components got you acquainted with some knowledge on the Flutter widgets. We are going to expand this knowledge by creating something called as a stopwatch timer app. From the very basics and from the very scratch, we'll be creating all the files and then having over the next 4-5 videos creating a stopwatch app. That will be well functioning and also very simple to understand. So catch me in the next video. Stay tuned with Hoping Minds.